Welcome to She's Got Guts, where functional nutrition meets ancient wisdom to bring you grounded insights and practical tools for your wellness journey. Join Laura, licensed Eastern medicine practitioner and wellness wizard, and Molly, registered dietitian and gut health expert, as they unpack trends, tackle bloating, balance hormones, and help you thrive in modern womanhood without completely frickin' losing your mind. Let's do this. Welcome. Really exciting because right now is the time of year that a lot of people are bloated. And when we hear bloating, we think about so many different things, but nobody really knows what it means, I feel like, all the time. So we want to talk about what it means, what to do about it, and all the other fun little facts.
Yes, all the fun facts. We'll talk about the energetics of the organs, how to interrupt that cycle and how to nourish them so that you set yourself up for success.
That's what we like, is success.
Yes.
Bloating can mean a lot of different things. Technically, what it is a feeling. So there's two, bloating and abdominal distension. Abdominal distension is that kind of round belly that doesn't necessarily feel full. It's just puffed out. And bloating is more like expands and contracts, feels crampy, feels kind of gross.
Full. It feels full.
You feel full. Sometimes it slowly increases over the course of the day. So in the morning, you feel one way. And then by the afternoon, you feel 6 months pregnant. And nobody likes that. And they always wonder why it's happening. There are a lot of different causes of bloating. But that classic cause, the I'm 6 months pregnant in the morning or in the afternoon. Okay. There are a lot of different causes of bloating. But the classic, I feel like I have a flat stomach in the morning and I'm 6 months pregnant by the evening.
Yes.
When we chew, we break down food into smaller pieces. Then when we swallow, our stomach acid breaks the food down into even smaller pieces. And then it is reabsorbed in our small intestine and sent around the body, the vitamins and minerals and macronutrients. And the rest is, of course, excreted as waste. But if those pieces are not too small, so if we haven't chewed very well, if we don't have very high stomach acid or other enzyme content, amylase, lipase, protease, that kind of thing, then we're going to have larger pieces of food that hit the small intestine. Everyone has bacteria in their small intestine, but not everyone has bacteria that is like a lot of it or overgrowth. Not everyone gets bothered by the bacteria in their small intestine, but those of us who are sensitive, when those larger pieces of food hit that overgrowth bacteria, we're in a situation where we are experiencing that carbon dioxide gas that gets formed. So it's kind of like someone shook up a soda bottle and puffed out your gut. That's why you feel like that. Mm-hmm. And so it happens more and more every time you eat. Yeah.
Yep. And I have a lot of women that will report, I wake up, like you said, with a flat stomach, and it isn't necessarily always by the evening. It's when I eat. Mm-hmm. The first time I eat, all of a sudden I look 3 months pregnant or whatever. Yeah.
Sometimes.
And I love to piggyback on that not necessarily like the energetics, but just let's stay in the physiology zone right now, in that when our nervous system is geared up, right? So let's say you're hustling out of the house and you're trying to get somewhere on time and you've had your caffeine and you're in kind of go, go, go mode, which on this podcast we refer to as low grade sympathetic, like low grade fight or flight. Your body's like, you need me to dig into my reserves and put more energy into what's happening right now. We've got that low grade cortisol happening. And when that's pumping through our blood, the ability to be able to feel calm, chew, have compassion, have that sense of groundedness. I am feeling nourished right now.
Right.
None of that's happening. And so your body's like, I'm just taking in the food that I need to, but I'm not really in a place to be able to fully, what we would say, rotten and ripen in traditional Chinese medicine. We're not able to really bring that, like you said, bigger molecules or bigger proteins into smaller proteins, macronutrients into micronutrients, break them down, be able to absorb them. And so remember, your nervous system is a big part of, I think, bloating, honestly.
It is.
From top to bottom.
Right. Because when you're stressed, you're not going to chew. And that right there sets you off onto a cascade. And all these other things are happening behind the scenes.
Yeah. And speaking of chewing, you always talk about how we're getting air in there, too.
Swallowing a lot of air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
when we eat
that
fast.
maybe people, too fast. And then also I think this is a good time to throw your opinion in about what you think about water with meals. Because I know people often think about that. Do I have a bunch before? Can I drink it during? Am I supposed to have it after?
Right.
What does the registered dietitian think?
That's a wonderful question. So some people like the drinking water before meals because it does fill up your stomach. And when we fill up our stomach, we feel more full. So a lot of people say, drink your water and then have your meal. That's for weight loss because you're not as hungry because you feel full from the water. But what you do when you do that, and this is why the internet is so confusing, is you dilute the gastric juices, which are going to be that HCl, that stomach acid. And then also you dilute any other kind of like enzymes that are coming in because the food is being diluted essentially. So, if you have lipase and amylase and, protease, sucrase, whatever it is to break down all those macros and micros, then it's mixed in with all that water. The food is mixed in with all that water. The enzymes are mixed in with all that water. And so they're not acting as effectively as they could if you had waited, about 30 minutes before your meal, you stop drinking water. I think for a lot of people, water is an afterthought. Like we really have to convince ourselves to drink it anyway. So I like to say set an alarm or something like that. So if you are setting an alarm for every hour to drink water, thinking about the meal times that you have for yourself and then remembering like when the alarm goes off, oh, well, I'm going to eat in a half hour, so maybe I'll just wait until after. But that's kind of how I feel about that.
Yeah, I would agree too. I think it comes back to that concept of, more isn't necessarily better.
Right.
If you're in the mindset of like, I'm going to fill my body up with water so that I'm not eating as many calories so that I'm losing weight, that's an interesting approach and probably not going to serve you in the long run, like maybe in the short term.
Yeah.
It's effective for, in terms of weight, but also when you are trying to lose weight, that doesn't mean that you want to lose nutrients. That doesn't mean you want to not gain strength. And absorbing your nutrients is a huge part of that.
Yes.
Yeah. So that mixture of, bacteria, enzymes, and acid, when you first throw things into the stomach, it's that soup, that little soup, and we don't want you to have diluted soup to be able to handle what you're bringing in.
It's called chyme.
We don't want you to have broth.
Yeah.
Yes, our chyme. That's exactly right. I was thinking that and I was like, should I say that? But yeah, that's exactly right. I love that. I'm a fan of just having sips, like kind of all the time, like just sipping water. And actually, on a personal note, my emotional support water bottle disappeared for about 4 days, and the boys and I were like, Mom. Or the boys were like, Mom, where is your yellow water bottle? So I haven't been carrying it around. And I was like, I don't know where it's at, and I'm sad. And it was actually in a bin that I brought home from my practice with some linens in it, like kind of buried at the bottom. I just threw it in there. And then when I went to go do laundry, I finally found it. But I drank a lot less water. Just because of that, because I have it with me all the time. I take it with me in the car. And whenever I get in the car with my water bottle, I make sure that I drink half of that water. Obviously, I'm not eating a meal in the car, so that's perfect timing. I have it when I'm sitting at my desk. I have it when I'm, in production. I also have it when I'm treating patients. I'll drink in between. I try to attach that to things that are already part of my routine, which works well. Like, for example, I've been keeping my fish oil in the fridge, and I forget it sometimes in the morning because I don't think my supplements are in the fridge, right? I'm like, they're in this cabinet. And so now I've attached in my brain, I'm like, oh, vitamin D, that's fat soluble. I need fats. And so when I take my vitamin D, the fat takes me to the fridge.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, kind of just
habit stacking. Yeah.
To habit stacking. Yes.
Excellent.
Exactly. When you talked about the bloating part and you talked about the small intestine, did you, when you were talking about that, you had mentioned that the small intestine has bacteria, but not that much bacteria.
In
I know
normal
that
world.
if you were to go, right. If you were to go visit like a naturopath or something, they're going to go down kind of a rabbit hole of some what ifs on what could be going on in your tummy.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe it would be nice to what pops up there for humans usually.
Yeah, absolutely. So same for me in that we know that most disease begins in the gut, and most if not all, body imbalance begins in the gut. So if our gut is imbalanced, then other things are going to be imbalanced. However, even though I'm a functional medicine practitioner, I still feel that not everything needs the remove phase. A lot of times you'll go to someone and they'll say, oh, you have candida overgrowth, or you have a small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. So candida would be yeast in the gut, small intestinal SIBO would be bacteria in the gut. We have to remove that with this herbal blend or this parasite cleanse or whatever. Remove. Rob your body of the bacteria so that we can then repopulate the good stuff. Sometimes people do them at the same time, probiotics and antimicrobials or antifungals that are natural herbs for the most part. Naturopaths certainly could prescribe, but in some states, but for the most part, the whole point of functional medicine is using that. But I do think I've seen too many people come to me on many, many supplements at once, which is distressing and confusing for them. And I also know personally, as someone with a sensitive stomach, that taking a probiotic and an antimicrobial sucks. Like it makes your stomach cramp and it hurts, and the antimicrobial hurts already. Some people are so sensitive and they're so fragile and they're so depleted that to remove that bacteria isn't always the answer. So yes, in theory, you can hear what we're saying and say, oh, I just need some oregano oil or this parasite cleanse, but that may make things worse because it's robbing your body of what little good bacteria you do have or the balance that it's kind of used to. And without proper guidance, those things can be really, really aggressive depending on the dosing and, where you're at and how you take them and how often you take them and that kind of thing. So there are lots of things that can be done to make you more comfortable. And if you want to go down that road, certainly you can. But I do not believe that everyone needs, too often people are practicing and saying everyone needs a rebalance protocol. And I feel everyone needs their gut to be supported. So enzymes and probiotics for a short period of time. I never use probiotics for longer than 6 months, or enzymes and some remove stuff, and then probiotics. Sometimes it's colostrum and DGL, which helps to build a thick, rich mucosal layer in the intestinal lining. Sometimes it's just functional food. Sometimes people just need more fiber. And all the time, which is part of the reason why I really have embraced over the years what I'm learning about the nervous system all the time, is you have to put yourself first. And unfortunately, with GI symptoms, the major theme that's with everyone is I don't consider myself a priority in terms of 5-10 minutes in the morning. It's like drag myself out of bed, pop on the phone, do for everyone else, go to work, do for everyone else, pop on the phone, go to bed. And oh gosh, I have no time to cook. I have no time to, meditate for 5 minutes. I can't go for a walk. I'm just full up. And I think our society is a lot of that. And I think also one of the reasons that we develop GI conditions is because we have not paid attention to our bodies. Yeah,
definitely. If you think about the energetics of the organs involved, with the stomach, it's how are you actually stomaching the world? How are you swallowing the experiences that you're doing? And the spleen is more how are you actually digesting that? How are you processing that? What are you taking out that's good, the parts that I'm going to keep, and what are you going to get rid of? We've got a full moon coming up in a couple of days, and the energetics of that spleen are going to be part of how you engage with the energetics of this moon, which is the last one of the year. What are we going to hold on to that's serving you, and what are you going to let go of that isn't serving you?
Totally.
And later on, the small intestine, that's again, sorting through what's left of the next step, we call it the clear and the turbid. What do we need that's going to be absorbed, that's going to be part of the body, and what else are we going to pass on through the large intestine to be eliminated? And so that's all about letting go, right? The small intestine is sorting through and kind of having that real focused, really micro level. What am I getting rid of? What am I keeping? And large intestine is and I'm letting go of all of it. So energetically, I love to tune in that way. I think that's really fun to kind of think about how that rolls.
So we've talked about chewing more. We talked about maybe not diluting those gastric juices, that chyme, by drinking water before a meal. We have talked about supporting your nervous system. Other ways to help with bloating is to relax the small intestine. So energetically, how do you guys, what's your number one?
Does TCM kind of say about all this? Yeah. So obviously acupuncture, that's going to put you straight out of fight or flight response. You might struggle for 2 minutes while your body's like, I'm getting into parasympathetic, which is fine. Right. But that's anytime you have the opportunity and you feel comfortable with it and you like to go do that, that's the number one thing to do. I would also say be mindful of where you are in your menstrual cycle, because you don't want to go blaming a lot of digestive stuff when really you might actually just have an imbalance, or the symphony of hormones isn't quite playing out exactly as it needs to at that time. And one of the symptoms may be bloating. I do think the energetics of it in terms of the liver and the spleen are a big part of it in traditional Chinese medicine. We call that wood overacting on earth, meaning that the liver, which is what regulates how we initially respond to the world. So as we're let's say we're walking down the street and we've got, maybe someone with soliciting you, I want you to engage with this. And you're like, I was actually in my podcast, just walking along, having a great day, and boom, here you are. And, the liver energy comes in and responds to that. If that's consistently happening, that it's a little kidney-ish too, and that your stress response is part of that. But if that's always happening, this pattern can develop where we kind of call it overacts, meaning it's overactive. There's too much energy coming from the liver, and the spleen isn't able to have that strength and balance to be able to focus on its job, which is making sure that the transportation and transformation of the energy of the food is happening. And also the energy of the kind of the emotion that goes along with the spleen is worry and a little bit of anxiety. That's also heart. But the spleen is about worry. And if you are constantly being bombarded by things that you are responding to, you're in your environment, like your initial interaction with the environment is maybe not positive, or it's something you're always responding to, that can lead to an overabundance of worry. And so this pattern can develop. And if you're able to kind of step back and recognize that and break that cycle a little bit, maybe by doing things like, here's to answer your question, my biggest one is low belly breathing. That's my absolute favorite. So many people spend so much time breathing in their upper chest. You've got that pain on the back of your neck, and you've got really tight pecs, and you're breathing up in that only in that part of it. Like if you can imagine that you're the three-dimensional being, and I love to guide people through this when they're on the table, but you can do it even just sitting at your desk. Like you can take a big deep breath and focus on pushing your chest forward. Okay. You can take a big deep breath and imagine that your ribs are going out from side to side. Like just when you kind of become aware of it, you're like, oh, they actually do go out. Yeah. And then you can imagine that your back is expanding. So that will open up that whole rib cage, which the liver chi dominates that whole chest and the rib cage, along with the lungs, obviously, because we're breathing in with our lungs. But that we call it the zong chi, which is part of what our chest, how the chi moves through the upper part of the body in the chest. And so when your liver is balanced, that zong chi can flow really properly, and you have this open feeling like I can lean into the world. Yeah. Not so much with when it's constricted and you're leaned over and your occipital ridge is all tight, the back of your neck's all tight and your chin's pressed forward and your shoulders are, you're wearing your shoulders as earrings and you got to open up. But the last part of that is that once you've kind of opened your chest and you've created this container in the top that's fluid, you can bring your abdominal, your lower abdomen into it. And basically, by doing those big deep breaths, you're giving all of those organs a lovely, lovely massage. Oh, that's good. And it's relaxing your nervous system and helping with digestion. Exactly. Awesome. I also am going to plug Lala's Wellness. I love to put Bomb Bomb or the Magic Mist on the lower abdomen, or even, because when we think about bloating, you can think about lower abdominal bloating, which I think tends to be more large intestine, small intestine. And then you have kind of up around the umbilicus or your belly button, and further up in the epigastrium, that could be a little more those organs that are in there. So it might be more like liver, stomach, gallbladder, that kind of area. So you want to think about like, that's good for your practitioner to know, like the location of where you're bloated. That whole 3 months pregnant thing is definitely lower.
Right.
But either way, the other thing too is you can do teeny tiny little circles in the direction that your large intestine actually goes. So from your hip on the front right side up to your rib, and then from your right rib over to your left rib, and then from your left rib down to your right hip, that's your large intestine. So you can do teeny tiny little, probably like the size of a quarter, like teeny tiny little gentle circles with the intention of like, I'm letting go. I'm letting go.
Yeah.
I'm letting go of these things. And then you're connecting your digestion and your energetics, and you can allow the stool to move through a little easier. And with that, you're going to massage the lymph, you're going to move the blood, you're going to have the fluids moving around. Hopefully you're doing some belly breathing.
Yeah.
But bringing that emotion, bringing the action with the physical body, and then tending to the nervous system at the same time, like that trifecta, I think would take bloating away pretty quickly if it is rooted in kind of that energetics with the world. I'm moving too fast. I don't necessarily have time to stop and care for myself.
Yeah. Oh, those are great tips. I also like YouTube, like just on YouTube, yoga to pass gas or yoga for bloating. That'll help you with the twists and the legs up and that sort of thing, which can help to physically
happy
move
baby
it.
all day. Yeah.
And then
people always fart in yoga when they do happy baby. Farts all over.
If you have good old fennel seeds in your kitchen, you can chew them, and that helps to relax your small intestine, as does magnesium, any kind of magnesium. But magnesium glycinate is also going to help your emotional anxiety type stuff. So that may be the best form in that particular instance. IB Guard, which is peppermint oil, can help to relax the intestine as well. That you can get at the grocery store. And
I would be mindful with peppermint that if you do also suffer from like acid reflux or GERD, you don't want to have a lot of peppermint. It relaxes your esophageal.
It relaxes it all.
And that. Yeah, so you don't want it, which is great for further down the stream, but for upstream, that's not going to support that mechanism.
I like IB Guard because it has an enteric coating and it makes it to past the stomach acid, and it really kind of breaks down not until the stomach. So it tends to not be as bothersome, but you're absolutely right. And the same would go for peppermint tea with the GERD. And I also really like boiling ginger root, literally, and making a tea out of that, letting it cool in there and steep and make it really strong. That can stimulate your vagus nerve and help to the peristalsis, or the motion of your intestines. So that can be really helpful too.
Yes, we love some shengjiang in Chinese medicine. We love the ginger. That's our spleen and stomach nourisher. It's a little acrid, a little hot, a little bit spicy, but those things are all wonderful when it comes to waking up that spleen energy. So that's lovely.
Oh. Well, we hope that you all have a very happy holiday, and we will be back for our New Year's episode
very soon.
It's going to be really fun, and it's going to be amazing too. So get ready for that, and we'll see you then.
That sounds lovely. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. We offer personalized support to clients in many ways and would love to work with you. Reach out to Laura at Lala's Wellness and Molly at Women's Gut Health for more information. Unlock your full health and hormone potential with Super Cube, Boom Bomb, and Best Tea. Check out the link in the show notes for more. See you next Saturday.